Recently, I've been spending a lot of time in the Rimworld Discord server looking at new mods that are being developed, new mods that are being updated, and new mods that are upcoming. So when I saw this mod being posted about a week ago, I knew I had to add it to the list. Introducing the Rimbound and Novakin xenotype. Now this mod really caught my eye for one specific feature, and we'll get into that in this review. So let's start by looking at the content of the Steam Workshop page. What is there and what do we see? So we start off with the initial thumbnail, really nice here, and I like the design, and then we have some nice little photos showing a little bit of context and what things look like in game. And then we get into the bulk of things, and holy moly, this is a Steam Workshop page. We have the initial introduction, we have content, we have everything that is added by this mod listed with graphics and explanation. We have mod recommendations, we have compatibility. Everything and more that we want is here. This is literally a perfect mod page. The only way that I can see some improvement here is with some giffers, and that is literally it. This is what I want to show people when I say this is pretty much perfection for a Steam Workshop page. So what does this content actually look like in game? So here I have 17 colonists. All of these have the unique xenotype of the Novakin and have been affected by various genes that have been added here. How many genes you add? There are 33 brand new gene packs that have been added with this mod, and out of the 33 gene packs, 13 of these are cosmetic and the other 20 are actually used for your colonists, and out of those 20, 5 of them add a special unique ability for 5 of those xenotypes. So rather than go through 33 individual genes and go through what they do, we're only going to be covering the genes that actually add something to our gameplay that basically isn't cosmetic, because those are just changing the colors and a few little minor things. So we're going to be mainly covering the 20 gene packs that actually do something with your gameplay. So let's start with the facial brand of Marksman. This adds 1 level of passion in shooting and gives the ability of Deadeye. The facial brand of Ohm, this adds 1 level of passion in animals. The facial brand of Diamond, this adds 1 level of passion in art. The facial brand of Square, this adds 1 level of passion in construction. Facial brand of Heart, adding 1 level of passion in cooking. The facial brand Cog adds 1 level in crafting. Facial brand Delta adds 1 level of passion in intellectual, increases intellectual research speed and reading speed, and nullifies a couple of other bits and pieces. The facial brand of Cross adds 1 level of passion in medical. Facial brand Mustachie adds 1 level of passion in melee, and it does add a extra ability. The facial brand of Fortitude adds 1 level of passion in melee and gives a special ability and suppresses the traits of Wimp and Delicate. Facial brand of Spade adds 1 level of passion in mining. Facial Blindness increases manipulation, and then the mood or thought duration increased by 50%, total of 75% with the Vibrant Mind trait. Facial brand of Club adds 1 level of passion in plants. Facial brand of Bulb adds 1 level of passion in social, global certain loss factor times 50%, and conversion power plus 200%. And the facial brand of Psy suppresses the trait of cyclically dull and cyclically death, and adds 1 level of passion in intellectual, increases psychic stuff. The facial brand of Stellar then suppresses the traits of Brawler and adds 1 level of passion in shooting and gives an extra skill. Rimstar then increases 1 level of passion in social and suppresses annoying voice and creepy breathing. Then we have the big boy himself, Novaborn. This is the key trait for all of the xenotype here, adding an absolute shed loads of things here. We're going to go further into this later in the video. Then we have Fusion Metabolism. This one also only is exclusive to the Novaborn xenotype, and these ones don't mind eating anything and are immune to food poisoning. And then last but not least, we have the Vibrant Mind trait. This one is also exclusive pretty much to the Novakin xenotype, increasing global loss factor, increasing work speed, decreasing research speed, decreasing reading speed, and basically making these people forget things very quickly. So as you can see, there's a lot of brand new genes that have been added here, with a lot of them doing very unique things and things we haven't necessarily seen before. Next, let's go into the 5 genes that actually add abilities to our Novaborn. So the first gene that we have added to our Novakins that give them a special ability is the Mustache facial brand. What this does whenever activated increases the move speed, the melee attack speed, and the melee damage factor by 200%. Next, the ability for the facial brand of Stellar. This is the trigger finger ability, and when activated, it does a range speed attack multiplier by 500%. Next, the facial brand of Psy. This adds the ability to psychically suppress, increasing the neural heat recovery rate, whilst also halving psychic sensitivity. Then we have Deadeye for the Marksman, and this just increases shooting accuracy by 500%. Then lastly, the facial brand of Fortitude. This activates the magnetic shield, which halves pain and then also reduces the incoming damage. Next, let's look at the xenotype a little bit more closely and what happens when they die. Now, these are Novakin. They are born from the sun and they are here to help us with our journey in our colony. But what happens when they die? Well, when they die and they're shot a little bit, they explode into a ball of flames and chem fuel. Chem fuel leaks out of them, they explode, and there's a big fire around them. But what happens when we chop them up and try to eat them? Interestingly enough, if we chop them up and try to eat them, we're given a little bit of chem fuel and a little bit of nutriamine. Very, very nice. So far, these Novakin xenotypes seem really cool. They're something that should be added to your playthroughs and seem to be given a nice little gameplay aspect that isn't necessarily too overpowered and fits in quite well. So how do we obtain these? How do we get these xenotypes? Are we trading for them? Are we stealing them? Are we breeding them? Are we doing what? So what I wanted to do was go back to the Steam Workshop page and look at how we got them. And in the frequently asked questions sections, it says that these are generally obtained through pirate raids. So what I did is I went into dev mode and I wanted to spawn in some pirate raids. So what I thought was either the Yitakin pirates or the Waster pirates. So I spawned in a pirate Waster raid, and what do I see? None of these xenotypes. So I thought, you know, that's a little bit strange. Maybe I've just gotten unlucky and I need to spawn in a few more raids here just to really generate them. So what I did is I spawned in a few more raids of Waster pirates and Waster Yitikins, and nothing seemed to spawn. And I was thinking, what is going on? I really want to see this in action. Are they good in combat, or what is going on? But I didn't get the opportunity to see them. So what did I think? So I thought to myself, well, let's maybe give the mod creator the benefit of the doubt here and maybe see that if they've been added to a different faction that isn't necessarily a pirate faction. Now, what I want to bear in mind with you guys is I'm only playing with this mod installed and the required mods to play this. Everything else is base game vanilla Rimworld, and nothing should be interrupting this. So what I did was I spawned in every single faction within a raid of 2,000 points in dev mode in hopes to see the xenotypes in action. And I didn't see them. I spawned in mechanoids, I spawned in everything. I unfortunately didn't see these xenotypes. I don't know if this is a bug or if I've just been seriously unlucky, but I would like to see the increased spawn rates if I have just been unlucky, and if there is a bug of why they're not spawning within vanilla factions, what's going on. I was expecting them to be spawning with the pirates and they're not here. If there is a mod that allows them to spawn in with the natural pirates, this should be a requirement for this mod, not necessarily a recommendation if there is one there. So that's going to be it for the content section here, and I really like what's going on here. The Steam Workshop page, in my opinion, is pretty much perfect. Couldn't get any better here, lists all the content that we're going to be downloading with this mod. It's amazing. The actual xenotype itself, the Novaborn, they are amazing as well. I really like the way that there's almost this social hierarchy here, where we've got the ones with the abilities and the ones with the less desirable abilities. Allows for a really good gameplay features here where we can specialize our different Novakins for different jobs depending on what we need. But here's the kicker. The big letdown here is that I couldn't get them to spawn in dev mode with a raid or as traders with friendly factions. I don't understand why. I followed what I thought was correct, and bear in mind I'm only reviewing this mod with a couple of very basic quality of life mods like Camera Plus, and that is it. There's no reason why they shouldn't have spawned, and I don't understand why they didn't. Now, it's not going to necessarily affect the rest of this review because I will still be reviewing everything bearing in mind that it could or could not spawn in, but it has unfortunately left a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth, which I'm not a fan of. So for the content, I love what's here, but I need to be able to have these spawn in with vanilla raids and not necessarily have to download a mod that I'm not necessarily aware of. So for the content section, I'm going to be giving it an 8 out of 10. So next, let's move on and look at the quality section of this review. Now for me, this is a huge part for this mod because this is what initially drew me to it, was the actual quality of the Novakins themselves. So let's zoom in and see what they look like. Now all of the Novakins come in their special unique colors and they all glow. They all have this lovely sort of plasma hue about them, which I'm a big fan of. And obviously, who can ignore the individual designs on each of their faces? These are all very well made, and I love the way that we can see what is what just from a glance. It's a really nice change if you ask me. The only thing I've necessarily got any concerns with is the quality isn't necessarily the best. Whilst I do see that it does fit in perfectly with vanilla Rimworld, I would maybe like to see just a little bit more fidelity, a little bit higher resolution. A little bit more here would go a long way in my opinion. Now throughout this review, I've only shown the Novaborns without any hair. Now they're not genetically bald. They can have hair if they really fancy it. So what I've done is I've given them all back hair. And as you can see, they all look really good with the hair. And another small detail here that's gone a really long way for me is the color of their hair then matches their body type. So if you have somebody with a pink plasma hue, their hair then goes all pink and plasma. If you have somebody with a white plasma hue, they then have a white plasma hue to their hair. Whatever their body colour is, it then matches their hair. Another small thing that doesn't necessarily need to be thought of, but goes a really long way. Now, another small detail that I picked up here, and as you can tell, there's a little bit of a theme on small details here. With our 5 colonists that have got the Novaborn trait and also have special abilities, once we activate these special abilities, they all shine and glow like stars, and it's very, very pretty. Once again, another detail that wasn't necessarily needed, but it's gone a really long way in showing off the quality here. So next, let's move on to the biggest part of the quality section here. In the Steam Workshop page, I saw a screenshot where this mod was being used with the Save Our Ship 2 mod. In this screenshot, there is a Novaborn in space, and it seems to look like he's glowing. And now I initially saw this and I thought I have to test this out, because this is a huge thing for me. As somebody that's previously played Planet Coaster and has a huge appreciation for pretty lights and things, it had to be true or else I was going to be giving this a 0 out of 10. So when I changed the time of day to night and I moved my colonists to a certain area just to see the stars align, it did. The stars did align. These Novaborns are all glowing and it looks so nice. All the different colours have a different hue coming off them and it's very, very pretty. Now before you go and say, oh yeah, but you need to compare them to the actual colonists just in case they don't actually glow and it's just a graphical thing, I did that, okay? I had to be sure as well. So I spawned in a baseline of colonists and I put 2 and 2 together and look, they are glowing gloriously. This alone gives the quality section here a 10 out of 10. And that is my official rating for the quality section here, 10 out of 10. Yes, the fidelity of the actual xenotypes could be a little bit better, but I don't care. These glow in the dark. That is incredible. It's amazing. 10 out of 10 for quality, full marks here. So next let's move on and look at the balancing of all the genes. Now unlike any other mod review, there's no resources cost that we can look at and there's no tech cost that we can look at. So what we're going to be generally looking at is what bonuses are provided with each individual gene. So first let's look at the balancing of the system where it just increases the passion and a certain skill. For me, perfect. I can't think of a better way to honestly balance a colonist. Or not only does this not directly influence their actual abilities in any way, it just makes them learn a bit quicker. Like, it's whatever, isn't it really? So next let's look at the Novaborn gene. This is the main one that makes our Novakins Novakins. So 0% flammability, 0% fertility, a huge min-max comfortable temperature range, a complete toxic resistance, immune to all human disease and chronic conditions, regenerating 1 missing limb every 30 days. On the surface of this, yes, this does seem quite overpowered, but when you look into things a little bit more and see which ways we can deal with all these different individual issues within base game vanilla Rimworld, we can put down fire foam poppers everywhere, we can give people better clothes, we can have a good hospital. Everything that these xenotype has, we can cure or replicate in almost the same way in base game vanilla Rimworld. Not to mention the fact that these are 0% fertile. We can't breed loads of these and get loads and loads and completely replace our actual colonists with these and then negate all the stuff with that. We can only ever have 1 or 2 of these within our playthroughs, which is a huge balancing point. It won't be something that's going to overtake your colonies unless that's what you set it up for. Next, the fusion metabolism. It has a metabolic efficiency of +5, and then also means that the Novaborns can just eat pretty much anything and they don't get food poisoning. I don't necessarily agree with the fact that this requires the Novaborn trait. I would definitely like to see this maybe cost more in archive capsules, but then be allowed to be used by all baseliners and any other gene type. I think these ones are not really fair to only be accessed by Novaborns. Then lastly, the Vibrant Mind gene. This increases the global certainty loss, increases global work speed, decreases research speed, decreases reading speed, increases global learning factor, and then the mood or thought duration is lowered by 50%, and the global lot skill loss and learning rate is increased by 25%. So what the idea behind this is that your colonists will move on quickly and they'll gain and learn new skills and forget them very quickly. There's a quick repetition between what they're going to be doing and then be very good at learning and then forgetting. This is then cancelled out a little bit by the Delta facial brand that then increases research speed and everything as well. So when you've combined that with the Vibrant skill and then you combine that with the Delta skin brand, you've got a colonist that's going to be really, really good at researching, and it's also not going to be necessarily remembering when their son dies and they've accidentally eaten them. The Vibrant Mind thing is really unique, and I love the way that it's almost got this constant change of personality and mood, and whilst also giving the opportunity for them to learn and forget things really quickly, meaning that you want to be able to specialize these in one certain thing. So the genes themselves don't seem that overpowered. They seem very well balanced and very well thought about. So let's start by looking at the extra abilities that we can get with the 5 certain colonists. So let's start with the Mustache Gene's ability. This increases move speed, increases damage speed factor, and increases the damage itself by 200%. So let's start by comparing the amount of damage and how long it takes to down a Novaborn without using this ability. As you can see, it takes quite a while, bit of a hammering, poor Novaborn. And then we activate the ability, and this Novaborn goes down like a sack of potatoes, absolutely obliterated. And with the move speed as well, as the Novaborn is crawling away, we can just run circles around them. A bit mean, honestly, and quite brutal. So next, let's look at the Trigger Finger ability. This theoretically increases range attack speed by 500%. So here I have a colonist with a minigun shooting a wall. It kind of does the job, not too bad. And then we activate the ability and shoot a wall, and yeah, the bullets are going really quick. This is absolutely brutal. I would not want to come against this. So next, let's look at the Deadeye ability, and before we look at that, let's use a minigun at the maximum range to see how much damage we can get in a couple of volleys against a colonist. And as you can see, the bullets go absolutely everywhere. Yes, the colonist does take some damage, but it's absolutely all over the place. Let's activate the Marksman Deadeye's perk, which increases shooting accuracy by 500%. Look at how tight the spread is on these bullets. This is insane. This is the only one that I genuinely feel could be a little bit on the more overpowered side, because this shouldn't be fair. Like, look at how tight the spread is. Absolute destruction. So next we use the colonist with the Psi ability. Now this one genuinely confused me, and you'll see why in a second. So what I thought here was, what I could do is I could see how many blinding pulses that we could use with the colonist before activating the ability. We got to 5, and I thought, okay, fair enough, so hopefully we should see maybe double the amount. So what we did is we activated the ability, which gives a neural heat recovery rate of 0.25 and a psychic sensitivity of 50%, halving psychic sensitivity. So when I came to using the blinding pulse, I could maybe pop off 1 or 2 at an absolute push. I could barely do anything. So I didn't understand what I was doing wrong, what was going on, whether there was a bug or something. I just didn't get it. So I thought, okay, let's go back to the drawing board and let's look at this more clearly. Psychic sensitivity. Let's see what happens if we use this on a prisoner, which we can use with reducing the resistance depending on their psychic sensitivity and so on and so forth. So when it came to reducing the resistance of a prisoner, without using the ability, it reduces from 16 down to 4, a reduction of 12. We use the ability, and once again, 16 to 4, a reduction of 12. I don't get what I'm doing wrong. I only play Rimworld occasionally, really, because I make so much content about this all the time, and I could be missing out on something huge here. But for somebody that's kind of only playing Rimworld casually a lot of the time, this is too confusing for me. I just don't get it. I feel like we could have so many better abilities, so many better reasons for using the Psi power here. I don't understand it. Maybe some explanation somewhere as to where we could be using this. I could be just being really stupid here. But for me, I didn't get this one, honestly. I don't understand the use of it. Maybe if there was a high psychic drone and we activated it, they would be a little bit happier for 7 hours, but I feel like I'm missing something and I just couldn't work this one out. Then lastly, the Fortify skill. This one's nice and simple and I could work this one out first time. What I did is I grabbed the colonists with the Fortify ability, shot them with a minigun a few times, and they took a decent amount of damage whilst wearing cataphract armor. So let's activate this ability and see how they fare. And as you can kind of see, they take an absolutely ridiculous amount of damage, not going down whatsoever. It just got to the point where I stopped doing the test because I was like, well, this is very good. Once again, though, this one was very simple, so I could work it out. So that's going to be it for the balancing section. And when it comes to the balancing of everything, I think practically everything is perfectly balanced. And I want to emphasize practically. There is literally one thing that I think is overpowered here, is the ability that when we activate the shooting accuracy buff, 500% is absolutely insane. Like I showed with the minigun, it's just ridiculous. Like, that is not something that I ever want to come against in any playthrough that I ever do. It's the only one that I could maybe see being nerfed to maybe 300% or 200% potentially, just because it seems very, very powerful. Otherwise, everything is really well thought of, and I think the actual social hierarchy between having colonists that aren't got special skills and ones that do have special skills is actually really nice. And the ones that have got the special skills are all combat focused, which I think makes having those ones more desirable in certain situations, but it still means that you are going to be wanting ones that are good at mining and social, animals and cooking, etc. And I think that's a great point here. I think the Nova-born stats that actually are provided with the xenotype also aren't actually that powerful. Yes, on the surface of things, they do completely negate pretty much any environmental factor, but you can do that in your playthroughs just by giving your colonists certain apparel and stuff, and even the invulnerability to fire. Like, just use fire foam poppers and you'll be alright. The only problem I also have is the psi stuff. Now, I've got a brain and it does work sometimes, but I just couldn't work out where to be using the psi power. I don't understand it. And I don't like that. I want to be able to understand things, and I want things to be simplified just a little bit. Now, I could be missing out on something really overpowered here, and I just haven't worked it out. And that would be my bad, and I totally appreciate that. But for me personally, if I can't understand things as somebody that reviews mods and looks at loads of different things, that's really not a good thing in my opinion. But still, full credits to the mod creator here for creating an extremely well-balanced xenotype that fits fantastically with Rimworld. So I'm going to be giving balancing today a 9 out of 10. Next, let's move on and look at the compatibility of this mod. Are there any bugs that I need to know about, and how does it fit with your playthroughs? Now, in terms of bugs, I had absolutely no issues whatsoever. Everything worked perfectly for me. Looking at the Steam Workshop page, there are a couple of people that are seeing mod conflicts with mods that add facial animations, and I mean, it makes sense adding facial animations to a bunch of xenotypes that don't have a face. I mean, what do you expect? In terms of how you'll use this in your playthroughs, funnily enough, this won't necessarily work in the tribal era or the medieval era. I don't necessarily think this will fit in with the majority of the industrial era either. This mod will fit in perfectly with kind of your late stage Rimworld playthroughs and then going into the Spacer and Archotech era. I do, however, have a fantastic idea for a playthrough that you're welcome to steal, is where you have a couple of your Nova-borns run a colony in the medieval era and then have loads and loads of slaves just serve them. Felt like that could be a nice idea. Otherwise, this mod's going to be fitting perfectly with the kind of space stuff. Anything that's kind of sci-fi, I think will go really, really well, especially with the Save Our Ship 2 mod that the mod creator recommends themselves, and I think that is a fantastic shout from them. So for compatibility, I had no bugs whatsoever. There's a couple that's been reported, and it doesn't necessarily fit in with every single Rimworld era and all of your playthroughs. I'm going to be very comfortably giving this a 7 out of 10. So next, let's go in and look into the mod recommendations to go with this mod. Now, I've generally gone for a little bit of a theme here, gone for sort of their Wild West crossed with space, crossed with aliens, which I think is a really cool concept, funnily enough. So starting with the Save Our Ship 2 mod, this mod is compatible with this and actually has made the Nova-borns completely EVA proof, so you can use them in space with no problems whatsoever. Next, we have space cowboy vehicles. I saw this and I thought, well, this is fantastic for kind of space aliens in cool cars. Next, Victorian era apparel for that Western vibes once again. Next, vanilla expanded lasers, so we can have laser pistols and stuff, just like in the Wild West, and following off that, phase weaponry as well. Kind of like lasers, but they phase through you. So in terms of the mod recommendations and the type of playthroughs you're going to be having with this mod, they're very unique. Yes, it does pretty much only fit in kind of the space age and kind of in the late industrial era, in my opinion, but the potential for having hybrid playthroughs with the different eras is absolutely amazing here. So I think I'm very content at giving the mod recommendation score just because of the hybridness that we can have between the different eras here, unlike pretty much any other mod, which is amazing. I'm going to be giving it an 8 out of 10. So now for my conclusion, where am I at with this? I think in terms of a xenotype mod, this is up there as one of the best I've ever reviewed. In terms of the actual content that's being provided by such a small mod, it's incredible in such a way that all the different unique face brands that the xenotype gives us means that we have different gameplay opportunities for every single situation depending on what we're given by the xenotypes. But this is all completely irrelevant until we can work out why they didn't spawn in for me in dev mode and why they didn't appear in natural vanilla raids. That is a big one for me. And whilst I do understand that I was doing that all in dev mode and it could just be an issue with that, I think this does need to be addressed by the mod creator as to why this hasn't happened. I'd love them to comment below as to why this hasn't happened, just so I can pin their comment and you can all see what's going wrong with that. But otherwise, I think what we've got is amazing. The different abilities, the social hierarchy that we've kind of got between all the different individual face brands, it's really, really nice. So in terms of content, I gave it 8 out of 10. Quality, 10 out of 10. For balancing, 9 out of 10. Compatibility, 7 out of 10. And mod recommendation score was 8 out of 10, giving it the grand total score of 42 out of 50, which is a very good A-rated mod. And I think what stands out for me personally is the compatibility with Save Our Ship 2, which is such a huge mod, and means that this will be something that I'm definitely going to be using in my future playthroughs with Save Our Ship 2, because I absolutely love that mod as well. This is an amazing mod to be adding into your playthroughs if you're there a little bit more sci-fi, a little bit more futuristic, and if you want a kind of hybrid between the old times and the new times and going from there. I would, however, like to see that the ability to have the shooting accuracy at 500% definitely be reduced a little bit. That for me is a little bit of a balancing issue. The rest of the scores I think are amazing for this mod. But don't listen to my opinion, make sure you formulate your own and check out this mod for yourself. And if you have enjoyed this mod review, consider liking, subscribing, make sure you tell your mum about me, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.